right, YouTube, it's Mr. Mean coming at you from very cold Duluth, Minnesota. I think we were -4 today. It's a little chilly, but Mr. Mean is happy because my mean keeps me warm. Anywho's, a couple of announcements to get out of the way, and then we'll get into today's video du jour. I'm moving away from Patreon. They're doing a couple things that I don't like. A couple of my users have reached out to me and said that they're going to stop supporting people on Patreon, and there's been a number of YouTubers that do the same sort of thing I do, or different platforms, but self-publishers like myself, and they've moved away from Patreon. There's a bunch of political. I'm not a political guy, but there's some of the things that they're supporting and they're doing, and the charges that they're hitting. And I'm a small channel. I don't have a lot of subscribers, and the ones that I do have, I'd like to keep. The money, like I said, and anything I get from my Patreon, from my YouTube channel, goes right back into the channel. It's what paid for this microphone. It's what paid for that camera. It's what's paid for a lot of the game books back there on the shelf and new stuff that's coming in that I do via Kickstarter. So I do still want and need and like your support. So if you're a current subscriber to Mr. Mean Speaks, please, by all means, I hope that you continue to do so. We're just changing a platform. The platform that I'm moving to is Zelly. I'll put a link down in the doobly-doo. It is totally free. It's inobtrusive. Patreon, I don't know about on the subscriber side, but on my side, I get multiple emails a month. I've opted out of them. They still keep sending me emails, and that's one of the things I don't like. I do like the fact that I can set a date and everything on my videos, and it'll release it to the wild, so there's nothing I have to do. But the flip side is YouTube now has that feature available, so that's not even an excuse. So I'm going to Zell, I don't know how you want to pronounce it. I'll put a link in the doobly-doo, but it's Zelle. And here's the great part about it. A, completely free. B, if you send me money, I get it in a matter of hours, not days. Patreon takes 2 to 3, sometimes 5 days to pay out. And I don't know why. Zelly can do it in a matter of hours, and these guys take days to do it. And I'm sure Zelly is processing payments just as much as Patreon is, if not more. But anyway, the nice part is it's free for you to send me money, and it's free for me to get my money, as opposed to Patreon, which takes a cut. So obviously it means more money in my pocket, and I don't have to raise my subscription fees or anything, and I wasn't planning on doing that anyway. It's never been about the money. I do appreciate the money, and I do enjoy that you guys send me money to see my content and my smiling, charming self on the screen. So, and I will keep continuing to do that, even if I lose all my Patreon subscribers, even if everybody says, we don't want to deal with that. I'm still going to keep doing these videos, but for those of you that subscribe, know that your money does help, and it is appreciated. I'm down to one income in my family, and my wife, unfortunately, is unable to work right now. She's working on it, but we're dealing with it and the challenges that brings. But I did land a good job. I'm very happy at my new job. It's going great. I love it. But of course, I'm raising a family on one person's income, and I'm sure those of you that do that know how tough it is. So if you think about subscribing, go to it. I'm going to change my subscription platform to a flat $10. So some of you are paying $5, some are paying $10, some are paying $15. I'm going to drop it to a flat $10 for everybody. And again, saves you money, saves me money, because there's no fees with Zelly. The cool part is if you have a mobile banking app, which I think most people do now, there's usually a plug-in in your mobile app. I bank with U.S. Bank, which is a local bank here in Duluth, and they have it. I also bank with Capital One, and they have it on their mobile app. So just go into your mobile app or go to your bank and ask them. You may have to download the app or whatever, but it literally takes a second, and you set up your account. All you need to pay me is my email address, which is jpolack, P-O-L-A-C-K, @gmail.com. And then you can send me a payment, and I literally get it in a matter of hours. One of my subscribers has already set it up, and he sent me this month's payment, and I got it in, I think, less than an hour. So it works really well. It's inobtrusive. They don't ask for your basic information because you're doing the app from inside your bank account. it's all secure and everything, so like that. So anyway, that's the housekeeping out of the way. As always, like and subscribe. Please remember, this month moving forward, everybody will be $10. And like I said, I'm going to continue sending out the videos. I'll wait a month and send the videos out. And I usually do 2 to 5 videos a month, sometimes more, sometimes less. It just depends on what life throws me. But next month, for those people who haven't renewed their subscription via Zelly, they won't get the video right away. And I've exported the email list out of Patreon, and I have it on my computer here, and I can send those people a direct link via YouTube to see the video, and then everybody else will get it the customary 7 days later from the date I record the video. So with that out of the way, and of course, if there's any questions, feel free to email me or hit me up on my Discord channel, or email me at, again, jpolak@gmail.com. So, as always, like and subscribe. Tell your friends about it. For $10 a month, you get 7 days early access to my videos, and you get the goodwill of knowing that that money goes back into the channel. I don't use it for anything else. So, with that being said, on this January 16th, tomorrow, my little boy turns 2 years old. It's awesome. And I'll probably do a video tomorrow night just to celebrate it, because I'm a goof. But tonight's video du jour is a blast from 2003. From a Canadian company. That's right. America Light. My good friend Dragon Spawn up there in Canada. This one's for you, buddy. DP9's Silouette core system. DP9 has gone through a lot of changes, shall we say. They started as a small Canadian company producing a miniatures game called Heavy Gear. And I think it actually started as like a little card game that would come in like a VCR sized box. And you could play it, and then it escalated into a miniatures game, or it might have been the other way around. I'm not exactly sure, but I do remember seeing the Silouette or the Heavy Gear little VCR boxes with these little like card token games in them, and it looked pretty cool. I never bought one, but it looked cool. And I was living in California, and DP9 was Heavy Gear was this game that my good friend Brian Isaacoff, the hoster of 2D6 Feet in a Random Direction podcast, which he needs to resurrect. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Brian, shout out to you, calling you out, buddy. He and I met over Heavy Gear, and it was one of those, man, we got to play this game. We've never played the game. I think we've sat down and tried to play once or twice, and we just never made it through it. Anyway, long story short, DP9 went through a bunch of changes. They came out with a really cool apocalyptic game called Tribe 8, which I was a huge fan of. And I think Brian and I played that with our gaming group for a little while. Never got any traction, but I really liked the game. And I have the core book back there in the collection. They've put out a number of games under this Silouette system. And the sad part is, I don't think a lot of people know about this, but it's a good game. This is a generic rule book. So basically this and your own imagination, you can set up any world, any setting, sorry, bump the desk, any setting you want, and you could run with it. This is the basic core rule book. I don't know if it ever came out as a hardback. This is a glue binding, it's only a whopping 224 pages, includes a generic character sheet, if I remember correctly. Yes, nothing to write home about, but generic character sheet, generic system, so similar to GURPS, similar to Savage Worlds, similar to basic D&D, just a generic setting, and you add your world. But they did put out a list of games that they supported. So you had, and I have one of them here, but they had Gear Krieg, which was kind of a spin-off of Heavy Gear, but it was set like in World War I or World War II. I never got into it. Also Heavy Gear, the role-playing game, Jovian Chronicles, the role-playing game, Tribe 8, which used this system, and it says many more, but they never came out with them. If they did, I don't know about them. The website DP9 is still available, is still up and running. It's DP9.com. I'll put a link in the doobly-doo. And they're also on drivethrough.com, which of course I'll put a a link to in the doobly-doo, as the old saying goes. And so you can go to DreamPod9 and download like character sheets and some stuff that they have, some freebies they have. So the game is somewhat still supported. No new books for it. And again, like I said, this came out in 2003, April, Canadian. So first, and then of course I have Core Command, and we'll look at those books in a minute. But this is the core book. This book, and in any of the Splat books, you could play whatever you want, or just this plain book, and you could set your own world. One of the things that I really liked about DreamPod 9 is their consistency in their art. They usually got one or two artists to do all the art for the book, and whoever did their layout, and I don't know if it says it in here for layout. Layout was Pierre Coulette and Jean-Francis Fortier. So, and if I mangled those names, I'm sorry, I'm not French. I barely speak English. But they do a great job. I mean, the layout in this book is clear, it's concise. There's a little bit of wasted space because they're kind of trying to go for that like tablet feel or like a high-tech feel. So, there's tabs, and when you close the book, you can see those tabs, which is helpful. Because you can flip to that section and kind of see where you're at, but it is a little bit of a wasted space. So if that's a thing that bothers you, that's something to keep in mind. There's not a ton of art, but most of the art is what I would call cell animation or computer cell animation. I don't know the proper term. If somebody does, feel free to put it down in the notes. But there's some of the art. You can see it's got that kind of cartoony feel to it, but the art is consistent throughout the book, and I feel it's good art. I like it. So the book does a good job of it's very generic, and you have your core stats, and it's a skill-based system, and you have your attributes, which were agility, build, fitness, knowledge, psychic, appearance, creativity. I think INF was information. I don't remember. Perception and willpower, or will. And it's a 2d6 system. And it's a very easy mechanic. Wasn't super difficult to learn. You have perks and flaws. You can go as granular as you like, or you can be as vague as you like. That was what was nice about the system. It was a point kind of allocation system, but yet it wasn't. It's kind of hard to describe. But it was a decent system. It was during that, D20 glut, and it has rules in here for D20 as well. It contains the OGL. So it was during the 3.0, 3.5 glut. So everybody was jumping on the 3.5 3.0 bandwagon, and DreamPod 9 was no different. They even came out, I think, with a D20 version of Heavy Gear, if I remember correctly. And I think there might have been a D20 version of Tribate. I'm not sure. And if not, you could have played it with this. So you had... a basic character would have, your weapons, your equipment, your perks and flaws, and you got points for those. You spend points for perks, and you got points for flaws. And then you had skills, and you had physical status, your injury, your flesh wound, and your deep wound, and an instant death. And then you had modifiers, which is, I'm a big fan of modifiers on health. So Warhammer Fantasy does it. A couple other games do it. Silouette system does it. So if you take damage, the first damage you get, you're at a -1, and so you -1 from all your dice rolls. So, and all you needed to play this game was 2d6. And I believe one was a positive and one was a negative. I'm trying to see if I can pull up the mechanics. It's been a while, and I haven't played this game in years. But like I said, it is page 41. If you're following along at home, let's go look. I don't want to give you wrong information, because that's why you listen to Mr. Mean. You want good information on good games. Let's see. Automatic actions, standard actions. These require an action test consisting of a modified dice roll, which is compared to either a threshold value, a target number for those of us, or an opponent's own dice roll. And then you go from there. So let's see. They tell go into rounds and how they're broken up. I'm just trying to see the basic what you do, how's a task resolution, and I don't remember. It's been so long. So basically the GM sets a target number. You have perks and flaws that can either help or hinder you, and you roll plus or minus whatever modifiers there are. The GM will give you a basic target number, and that's what you're trying to roll. I'm just trying to see. I don't have a GM screen in here. They never put out a GM screen, which is a real bummer because I wish they would have. It's funny seeing the OGL back here because it has changed so much. All right, the dice roll is a method for generating random numbers in Silouette. Six faceted dice are used. The highest number counts. If more than 1 6 is rolled, each additional 6 after the first gives a +1 to the total. So that is something I do remember. So you had a target number of, say, 8. So you would roll your dice, and every 6 you got after the first one counted as a +1. So that's how you would get higher numbers than 6. But then again, you had modifiers and everything. So I don't believe it was a positive, negative die. I think I'm thinking of Feng Shui there, or Feng Shui, Feng Shui, depending on how you want to say it. But that's a review for another time. I'm trying to look here. I just want to... I don't see it, but I'm pretty sure that's how it worked. You rolled a number of d6 based on your skill attribute, modified by your attribute, and then you rolled a number of dice based on what level and a skill you had, and it was modified by your attributes, and then plus or minus modifiers due to perks and flaws in GM environment or any kind of modifiers GM wanted to put on you, and you'd roll those dice, and any dice that came up a 6 was a success, and you went from there. So it was a dice pool mechanic. So the blurb on the back says, one system at the core of it all. Gillet, Silouette core. This manual contains the latest edition of the critically acclaimed Silouette rules. Use them to propel your adventure in the core command universe, or any setting in a wide variety of genres ranging from science fiction, fantasy, anime, horror, modern age, and more. It's an action-packed game in which you control bigger-than-life characters. The Silouette core rules drive all DP9's role-playing games: Core Command, Gear Krieg, Heavy Gear, Jovian Chronicles, Tribate, and many more settings: fantasy, cyberpunk, horror, western, espionage, conspiracy, modern, comedy, anime, and historical. This book also contains Silouette D20 conversion rules, allowing you to benefit from the extensive D20-based library and the existing DP9 Silouette products. So those are the only games they ever came out with. There was nothing ever cross-produced that I'm aware of, except for maybe Heavy Gear and maybe Tribate, but I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. Do your own homework. If you have the Tribate D20, let me know. How is it? I don't have it. So anyway, this was the core rule book. So again, you could, when we were talking about my previous video about let's talk about rule settings, go back and check it out in the archive. It's up for public consumption right now. I should have added this one, but I to be honest, I forgot about it. But then they came out with this setting, which I bought. As far as I know, the only 3 books that came out for it, which was the Player's Handbook. Now, of course, you need Core Command rules, but this is the Player's Handbook. Gave you a whole bunch more options. And again, the art, same thing, came out in 2003. The art is very clear and concise. It follows a very same theme. Here's one of the aliens, and he's got 6 arms, so he can fire 3 weapons. Or in this case, he's firing 5 weapons because he's got a pistol in each hand and a rifle. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's crazy. Again, laid out the same way, that same kind of format. Here's some of the weapons. Look pretty cool, pretty standard. I mean, they had a distinctive art style, and I liked it. And some of the ships are super cool. Some of the aliens. Is a very cool piece right there. So, like I said, art, black and white, no color plates, a plethora of player characters and races and aliens and adversaries. They had a more... character sheet is slightly different. Very similar, but slightly different. And it was because their Core Command is their sci-fi setting. So this is the setting book you need if you wanted to play in the Core Command universe to go alongside the Core Command core rules. Then there was the Armory equipment catalog. So that was basically exactly what it says. This is only, how many pages is this? 96 pages. It retailed at the time, no price tag. It's got a ISBN. I'm sure it was around 20 bucks. I don't have a price tag on it. It's in really good shape. The bindings hold up well. Same type of art, that very much that line, black and white. Here's a little bit more in-depth art for the weapons, which I like. This was a direct, I don't want to say a direct competitor for Dark Matter, for the D20 stuff. God, I can't think of the sci-fi setting now for D20's modern. They had the sci-fi one, and I can't think of the name. It's going to drive me nuts. I hate not remembering names. It drives me absolutely bonkers. It was Alternity, and it was Star Drive. Alternity Core, and then, of course, they had their Star Drive and their Dark Matter. They also did a version of Gamma World and StarCraft as well. So, see, I can remember. I cheated. I looked at my PDFs. There's another cool piece of art. It's a little bit on the small side, but the camera should pick it up quite well. So it was very much that style of art throughout the book. There's a full plate of the cover in black and white, but nothing to write home about. But it is nice. And like I said, the book held up well over the years, because this is a 2003, so it's a 15, 16-year-old book. It hasn't really seen much play. I'm not a huge fan of D6 systems, but I do like the game. I like the setting. I'm happy with that. It was my phone. I apologize. Somebody's sending me a message on Discord. And then, of course, the third book that I think weighs in at again, 96 pages. No price tag. Big Nasty Aliens. And it's exactly what it says. It is a book full of big, nasty aliens. And art is done really well. Yeah, there's... How'd you like to run into that? Big slug with mandibles. No, thank you. So again, layout's very much the same, except they went with a grayish border. Again, kind of a waste of space, but I see why they did it. But it's laid out well. A lot of information. The OGL is in there as well, because I believe each alien, they give both stats. They do. They give the OGL stats. So if you're running a D20 game or a science fiction game, I just happen to be running Esper Genesis right now. And one of the things I'm running into is I don't have enough critters. I do now. And there's some cool, very freaky looking things in here that I'm going to leave this book out, because I was having a hard time coming up with ideas for my Esper Genesis game. And so this is going to help, because it's all D20 stats. So there's not much tweaking I need to do between D20 and 5th edition. So it will work. I can use this. So that's the core rules, Silouette core rules version 003. I don't know where version 001 and 002 is. I think they did that just as like a naming thing for, it came out in April of 2003. Like I said, Tribe 8 uses the same rules, and Tribe 8 was out before this came out, if I remember correctly. So, or I should say, before this came out. And I think it was just they converted everything to that Tribe 8 rule system. And they went from there. So they, like I said, they've gone through a couple iterations on their website. The website right now is horrible. If anybody from DP9 watches this, or someone at DP9, tell them they need to get a new web designer, because their webpage sucks. And I think the company's probably dead. I don't think they're actively publishing anything right now. They may be. I hope they're doing well, but according to their website, it doesn't. They did say Happy New Year, so somebody's updating something, but it's a very unimpressive, hard to navigate website. So they really need to give some attention to that. So anyway, I just wanted to pop out a quick video, make that announcement about Zelly. I hope everyone that's a Patreon subscriber continues to subscribe under Zelly. You can set up a monthly reoccurring payment. And that's a look at Silouette Core Command from DreamPod 9. I'll put all the links in the doobly-doo. And as always, peace and hair grease. And remember, as soon as I can find my mouse, Mr. Mean says be nice. Happy 2019.